Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how to update the firmware in your Godox V480 flash. This just came in. This is the Olympus version, but the procedure is exactly the same if you're using the Sony or Fujifilm, Nikon versions. And you just need a couple of things. I'm going to be doing this on my Windows laptop computer, and you want to make sure you use the cable that came with the flash. They do include a USB-A to USB-C cable. And I'm starting to get in the habit of actually labeling my cables when I take them out of the box, so I know exactly where this cable came from and what it's for. Um, you should be able to use any USB-A to USB-C cable, but I've heard people having problems when they're not using the correct cable. So I'm just getting in the habit of doing this from now on. All right, now let's check what firmware version this particular unit is on. So we're going to power the device up and then go into the menu. And we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom and click on Device Info. And you can see we have model V480O in my case, and we're on firmware version 1.00. So pay attention to these numbers. The model number, specifically, you want to look at the ending letter here, O. If you have a Sony version, this will be an S. Fujifilm will be F. Canon will be C, and so on. This is going to be important determining which particular firmware software you download. And then when you look at the version number, I'm currently on version 1.0. So if there's a new firmware out, it's going to be a higher number than this. And we'll see that when we go to the website. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to the Godox website, godox.com. And then I'm going to go over here to the search bar and just type in V480. And then I'm going to select the flash here. And then I'm going to click on download. And that'll take me down to a bunch of different links for the various firmwares and some product manuals, etc. So you want to download the firmware that is for the specific version of V480 that you have. So if you have a Canon V480, you'll see the letter C, or Nikon for N, S for Sony, F for Fujifilm, and then O for Olympus. And this is also actually for Panasonic. And this is the version that I have. And as you recall, we were on firmware version 1.00, and we now have version 1.01 available for us to update. If you're already on version 1.01, there's no need to download this or to update. So I'm just going to click on download here. And I get a little link, and I'm just going to save it to my desktop and do save. And now that's been saved here. I can click and open this. Then from here, I'm just going to extract all. And it's just going to go to my desktop. So I'll click extract with show extracted files when completed. So here are the extracted files. And they give you the instructions here. So let's open that up. And we'll scroll down to the English section. And it says, please update the firmware with Godox Firmware Update Software G3 version 1.1. And also they tell you how to check the current firmware version of your flash. And down here, they show you what's new with this particular firmware update and the release date. In this case, it's 2025, July 14th. Now, if you don't have the firmware update software G3 version 1.1, you need to go back to the Godox website and download that. So we're just going to go back to the top of the page and then move my mouse over support, then go down here and click on firmware. And then under firmware, I'm going to go over here to the side menu here and click on firmware launcher installer. And as we scroll down, you can see I have the G1 launcher, and it tells you the various flashes it's compatible with. I don't want that. There's the G2. I don't need this one. There's G3, but this is for the Mac. I'm using Windows. So I'm going to go down further, and there is the one for Windows, G3 version 1.1. So all I need to do here is just click on download. And I'm going to save that to my desktop. And I'm just watching the progress bar up here. And when it's done, we're going to click on that link, open it, and extract it just like we did with the firmware. All right, now that it's finished, I'll just click on here and click on the Godox Firmware Update software. We're going to extract it all and just go to my desktop and click extract. And that will open up the extracted files from the Godox Firmware Update software. And then in here, I'm going to open up this. I assume this is the user manual. We'll click on this and scroll down to the English section. And says, please discharge the device before updating. Remove the battery, press on and off for 2 seconds. Connect the device to the computer using the USB-C connection. And then there's some screenshots here. Open the file. And then the firmware update G3 product firmware.bin can be found on the official website, which we've already done. So the first thing we're going to do is discharge the device. So we're going to remove the battery, push and hold the power button for 2 seconds, and then push the flash test fire button. I just do that a couple of times. And now the device should be fully discharged. Now we're going to plug in the USB-C cable, this end into the flash, and then this end into my computer. So the USB-C port here is on the side, and I'll just push that in nice and secure. And then I'm going to plug the other end into my laptop. And as you can see, the USB-C is powering the flash now for the firmware update, and you should get this screen that says upgrade. So now we know that the flash is properly connected to the computer. All right, so now I've gone back to my desktop and I opened up the folder that we extracted for the firmware update software. And we're going to double click on the firmware update software file. And I'm going to go here first and change this to English. And then we're going to select the firmware file. So I have it here on my desktop, so I'm going to go into the folder where we extracted the firmware update software, and then it should end in the letters .bin, so we'll just double click on that, and it says open file success, and then we're just going to, and then you'll get the progress bar, and when it's complete, you get this message that says update device success, and we can go ahead and exit. And before we go to the final steps, if you like this video and you want to support the work that I do here, you can use the links below to buy me a coffee or make a donation and find great deals on photography accessories. I'll go back to the flash, and during the update, the screen on the flash did not change at all. It just stayed on upgrade, but we'll go ahead and disconnect the flash and then reinsert the battery and then check the firmware version, confirm that it's been updated. So we got a little hot shoe upgrading, says okay, very good. And let's scroll over to the menu, scroll down to the bottom. You can see we're now in firmware version 1.01. And that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.